Good morning, everybody. I'm Nick Monticelli. Our top hotline here on Local 4 Live, all about road funding. We're going to talk Wayne County, Macomb County, Oakland County, and more. The county executive for Wayne County, Warren Evans, is here. We want to hear from you. Our question of the day: what questions do you have for Mr. Evans? We can take those directly to the man sitting right to my right-hand side. You can't see him just yet. There's a code there at the bottom of your screen. If you scan that QR code, you can submit your questions. Now, as construction season hits full swing, there is a hiccup, and it's all thanks to what is not happening in Lansing. The state legislature cannot reach a deal on road funding programs, and that's putting proposed projects up in the air. That, coupled with issues on a lack of taxes coming in because we're not spending or we're using more fuel-efficient vehicles. As Will Jones reports, county commissions are pretty concerned.
According to a new report from the County Road Association of Michigan, drivers saw fewer of these last year, orange barrels and other markers of construction, and that may be the case going forward due to lack of funding.
We're at the edge of a fiscal cliff.
If Lansing doesn't step up with more road funding, drivers could be in for a bumpier ride.
And what would that look like for drivers?
Sure, that would be a lot more potholes, cracked, crumbling roads. The road surface condition would simply be a lot worse. We'd have a lot more people blowing tires.
The latest progress report from the County Road Association of Michigan shows road repairs have stalled statewide. That's because gas tax revenue is dropping thanks to more fuel-efficient cars, while the cost of construction keeps going up.
Because of the lack of funding, we're not always able in a county to do the fix they want to. They're doing short-term asset preservation to make a small amount of dollars go further.
Road officials in Wayne and Macomb counties are facing the same challenges as Oakland County. Wayne County says it's working hard to maintain critical infrastructure, but the gap between need and resources keeps growing. And Macomb County says it's exploring every possible funding option.
And what would you say to the legislature?
I think they recognize the need. I think they just need to get the job done now. We will try to do the best we can to try to stretch out the improvements we can, but there's only so much we can do without additional funding.
We reached out to Republican House Speaker Matt Hall and Democratic Senate Majority Leader Winnie Brinks for comment about the report. Brinks wasn't available and Hall hadn't responded by the time we filed this report. Will Jones, Local 4.
All right, well, thank you, sir. Joining us now in studio is the Wayne County Executive, Warren Evans. I can only imagine there's probably an entire pot filled of issues that you have on funding problems, but I'm guessing, and it's an assumption, tell me if I'm wrong, but probably one of the number one things you hear from people in Wayne County are road problems.
Absolutely, and the governor's been talking about it for 8 years,
right.
You know. We do, I think, an effective job with what we have. You know, we've assessed conditions differently so that we can repair the correct roads at the right time. Mm-hmm. But there's just a lack of funding, and it's a real reality. There have been groups that have looked at it and studied it. Act 51, which is the road funding act, is 74 years old.
And it hasn't been touched.
And the people who should know it the best are also confused by it. It's a very confusing sort of thing, a mixture of roads and population. And I can tell you this, that Wayne County probably gets less per citizen, not probably, it definitely does, than other counties like Roscommon and others that are farther north by thousands of dollars. And
why is that? We don't know.
No, I mean, you know, as you're sitting there trying to figure out how this equation works, how could that be true? The other thing is it doesn't take into condition all of the miles in your freeway. It's just one lane mile. I mean, so if you have 3 lanes, it's considered the same as just one. Well, you know, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out.
Yeah,
right. So that really needs to change. And
is there any political will to actually get it done, though? Because we've been discussing this for decades and longer, and every time we seem to get close to a solution, things are pulled back. Every time the money exists, it's pulled back away. And I don't know what the solution is when we seem to be on this never-ending hamster wheel.
I think the priorities often go to a bunch of other things other than roads.
Because they're not sexy, right?
Yeah. I don't think
until you blow out your
exactly.
Tire.
Right. I don't think. I think there's a desire to get it done, but I don't think it's a passionate desire to get done, and I think things keep getting worse as costs go up. And, you know, as I think we heard earlier, you get close to a cliff. The closer you get to the cliff, the harder it is to get back away from it.
Right.
And so I think something really needs to be done. I mean, the Republicans have put forth a bill. May not be the best bill in the world to everyone, but it's a bill. There's nothing that I've seen the Dems put up yet to try to deal with it, and it's an ongoing crisis. My job is to manage Wayne County, and
So
we need it.
That's my next question then, is how bad is it? I mean, we've gone, at least in my opinion, from repairs to all Band-Aids at this point.
Yeah, I mean, we probably do between 100 and 150 lane miles of repair every year.
Okay.
For all of the roads that we have in Wayne County, that's a drop in the bucket.
Right.
We could do more. We could contract for more if the money was there to do it. Because you got to understand, while we're talking about it, the roads are still depreciating because people are driving on them all the time.
Right.
And the Act 51 funding mechanism makes no sense to anyone. Right. So it's time to roll up your sleeves, and from a policy perspective, let's get a fix.
Well, what's interesting too is that, you know, you said it hasn't been touched in 74 years, 7 decades, and even in the last 5 years, 10 years, there have been so many changes and evolutions in technology in terms of more fuel-efficient vehicles, electric vehicles, where the revenue, the tax base is less, and it's going to continue to shrink. So not only do we have a growing cost on how much it costs to fix the roads, but a shrinking pool of money. And again, there seems to be no synergy in the middle to try to figure out how we fix this.
And understand, is a part of the infrastructure, which the roads are a big part of, is also bridges. Wayne County is the oldest county in the state. We have bridges that were a type of architecture that you couldn't find anybody in the world to fix at this point. Right. I mean, these are $100 million, $60 million jobs that have to be done. I mean, without the bridge, you can't have an unsafe bridge, and you certainly have to have the bridges working so it can feed commerce and it can do all of the things that need to happen. So I just get very uncomfortable that we keep talking about it and we don't do anything about it. I would rather have a bill that wasn't perfect but helped to fund roads and then work on the imperfections later.
Yeah.
Let's do something, and I think we're just kind of spinning our wheels.
You had mentioned before we came on the air that you're concerned over a lack of priorities too. And please correct me if I'm wrong, but your thoughts on that 375 raising project is that, while it could help and would be a nice project, is not necessarily a need, it's a want.
Yeah, I think so. I think it definitely is a want. I mean, I think when you have real infrastructure issues, bridges that need to be fixed and repaired, when you start talking about an expenditure of $100 million, to me, raising 375 up may be a nice project, but it's not a needed project. And, you know, when money is short, I don't know how you rationalize that project expenditure when you have so many other critical needs.
Yeah. Have you brought those concerns to state leaders and even city leaders in Detroit?
I have, and we're talking about them, and, you know, actively trying to find a way to, my grandfather would have said, cut the hog. In reality, I think it's almost a done deal in terms of that piece, but I am not convinced. It was never a player in the development of it in the first place. It was a City of Detroit project.
Right.
But I just think financially, when you look at it, $100 million to raise 375 up to grade is not nearly as important in the scheme of things as to fix some of our bridges that certainly need repair. Throughout the county, we have a number of them. And as I said, they're the oldest bridges in the state because this is where it all began.
Yeah. You mentioned the city of Detroit. I do want to pivot just for a moment and talk about the Detroit mayor's race, because I know what happens in the city of Detroit greatly affects Wayne County as a whole. Without putting a rubber stamp on any one candidate, what are your thoughts on the candidates that we have and the direction the race is going so far?
I'm not so sure about the direction the race is going. I'm not close enough to it, but I will say that in the last 20 years, we probably have the best field of candidates
Sure.
that we've had in an awful long
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Some have strengths in some areas, some weaknesses in others. But I think, the ability to manage, the ability to understand governance, I think we have, several people that could get the job done.
We've seen a lot of people, a lot of pundits talking about whoever the next mayor is should try to echo what Mayor Duggan has done in terms of working across both sides of the aisle and finding a lot of ways to bring in private money to build up the city of Detroit. Do you agree? Do you think that the next mayor has to be able to do similar things to keep Detroit going and also keep your tax base going?
Yeah, I mean, I think to some extent, but there are a number of other things that need to happen. I think that's important in the next mayor. And one of them is Detroit is contained in Wayne County. But historically, Detroit seeks funds from Lansing, Wayne County seeks funds from Lansing, when we could really work much closer together and say, what should our ask be from Detroit and Wayne County?
Instead of almost two separate entities.
Right. I mean, we would do better fiscally because there's enough juice there to get more done.
Yeah.
But it also means we're not going off on different tangents. Our ask should be a cooperative ask. And I would think whichever candidate wins, that's something they really need to really think about is we're almost 1/5 of the state's voting population.
Right.
There is no need for us to be playing our separate game of tennis.
Of different lobbying happening.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, you heard it here first. His door is always open for whoever our next mayor is going to be. Lord Evans, thank you so much for your time.
Good.
Appreciate you on
Thank
this
you.
Thursday morning.